They say that money doesn't grow on trees. Well, it does with buy-to-let property. I see you commenting down below, Jamie, is now the right time to buy property? It's like saying, it is now the best time to plant a tree. The reality is, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And it's the same with property. Look, if we could go back 10 years, 20 years and buy-to-let property, I know you would say yes, because there has never been a 10-year period ever where property prices have gone down. So ultimately, you don't wait to buy property, you buy property and wait. Here's why. Let's focus on capital growth or capital appreciation. Now, I'm going to throw in the fact that we typically utilize leverage. So let's say we've got 100 grand. Now, we're going to take out fees for this because it's just as an example. So typically with a property, you will get 75% loan to value. What that means is on a £100,000 house, you're going to get 75 grand from the bank or the lender, and you're going to put in 25 grand. Fees apply. It's just for example. So scenario one, we buy this £100,000 house and we put it in 100,000. There we go. Capital growth applies. But actually, the fact that we've got leverage means that the same 100,000 is going to buy not one, not two, not three, but 4 buy-to-let properties. And then when you've got capital appreciation, which is essentially the value of the property going up over time, then it multiplies across it. So let's say conservatively we're looking at a long-term average of 5% in the right areas. Instead of getting £5,000 on your 100 grand property, you're getting 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 and another 5,000. So £20,000 a year increase in your net worth. So what causes capital appreciation? It's two things really. Number one, inflation. So inflation, in simple terms, is kind of the accelerator of the economy. So if you think about being in a car, you put your foot down, we go faster and faster and faster. Inflation's good, it's fun, it's growth, until it gets a little bit out of hand. We're speeding a little bit and we need to slow down. And essentially, when there's too much demand, there's not enough supply, people increase their prices to calm the demand down, and that is inflation. So it's not literally that your money goes down in your bank account. I think it would actually help you take more attention of it. What it means is if you've got 100 grand today and you could buy £100,000 worth of product today, let's say inflation is 10%, in a year's time, it would then cost 110,000 for that same product. In this case, property. So it happens because of natural inflation. Then we've got supply versus demand. So in the UK, we are technically allowed to build on 6% of the available land. That's just give or take. That's what we've got available to develop on. However, we only develop on around 3% because the other 3% is fairly untenable when you take account of removing the rocks, the trees, etc. that would be needed to develop. So it's just not there. So we can only build really on about 3% of the UK, and we have got a massive housing crisis right now. We would have to develop between 300 and 500,000, depending on what stats you believe, but let's say 300k at the bottom of the end, for the next 10 years to get anywhere near the housing requirement needed, which we are nowhere near that. There's not, let alone not having the money, there's also the big planning issues that government put in place. We'll see what happens with that moving forward. But even getting the resource of people, you know, getting people resource, getting the build teams there, they don't just magic up overnight. It's already hard getting a build team for a refurbishment, let alone that mass development that would be needed. So with massive shortage in supply, massive increase in demand, property prices can only really go one way. Massive fundamentals. Talking about leverage for a second, this is one of the main things that actually pushes to capital appreciation. Why do property prices go up? Well, because it's got so much easier to buy property. So I'm not even talking about as a buy-to-let investor here. If you think about a residential buyer, a majority of them will put down 10%. And then the irony of making it that easy, and I'm not saying it's easy, by the way, I know it's hard for a lot of people, but it's easier than it once was. And harder than it once was. I get it, we're not going into that. So the thing is, by doing that and making it easier, more people then buy. Okay, and the problem with more people buying is it increases the demand even further. It also increases inflation. And one of the ways of bringing down that inflation, i.e. letting our foot off the accelerator, is the Bank of England putting the interest rates up. So when they put it up, it slows it down a little bit because it makes it harder. And then, of course, inflation comes back down, which at the time of filming this, we are near target inflation, which is at 2%, by the way, target. Then, of course, the Bank of England take the foot off the brake, i.e. reduce the interest rates. What do you think then happens? Let me know in the comments if you want. They decrease the interest rates. That makes it easier to buy property. If there's more people buying property, human behavior, go, 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 go. What do you think happens to prices? It goes one way. And the reality is you've got a lot of doom and gloom. Buy to let's, dead, all of that. Been saying it for the last decade. And where are they now? Nowhere near our level, okay? And so the reality is you can't wait for this. We need to take advantage of the movement. We can bitch and moan about it. Is it the right way to do things? I don't know. I don't really care. I just look at the system and take full advantage of the growth. Two things that you can do to control this is, number one, the tenant type. Now, you cannot be prejudiced on this. You can't just go, no, you don't look right, or I don't like this about you, you're not coming in. But we can do accurate referencing, and you can encourage the type of tenant that's going to go there. A really big one, there's a long list of this that we go through, by the way, really long list, but one of them is schools in the area. So when there are several good or outstanding schools within a 10-minute walk of the property, it massively increases the tenant demand for people with kids. And usually, because it's a good or outstanding school, the caliber of individual that goes there is usually better than a poor or underperforming school, just being open with you. And therefore, you get a good tenant type that typically wants to make your house their home over the long term. And that is really good because they look after the home properly, they make improvements, they pay rent, and they're going to be there over the long term. And ultimately, that should be our aim as investors and landlords, is to provide an amazing house so that somebody else can make it their home. And that's really the goal over the long term. The next thing is making sure that, tied in with that, you're getting a great area. So we're looking at redevelopment in the area. We're looking at what planning's going in on the planning portal. We're looking for what's getting signed off by government, what funding's coming in, what infrastructure, are there new roads, are there buses, are there train stations, what utilities are there. If a Waitrose is going in, it's going to increase the property price by up to 20%. What? I'm originally from Dartford, and I found out this stat, and 1 week later I got a notification that Waitrose was leaving Dartford. So that was a really good notification to get at the time. But all of these things, they come in together, and the things that you just wouldn't think about moving the needle, move the needle. And the reality is, you're not meant to have all of this experience. You're watching this channel right now because you want to learn this for yourself. And by the way, if you're getting value, make sure to hit that like, and if you're new, hit the subscribe button. Hopefully the value from the content is really having an impact on you. But I know this for a fact, there's a lot of you that watch this because you know you want to have the knowledge, but it doesn't mean you've got the time, the patience, or the connections in order to do this for yourself. And so we've done the hard work for you. So if you want to become an investor and build your portfolio, we will help you do that. The way you do that, you need 50K as a minimum investment. This doesn't go to me. This is for you to buy a property. Put APG in the comments. That stands for Aspire Property Group. APG in the comments. I'm going to send you a link where you can book in a free one-to-one strategy session. And we're going to give you strategic guidance on where you're at, where you want to get to, and help this be the year that you get your first, second, or fifth buy-to-let property. So you need 50K or more to be able to invest in the areas that we would guide you towards. We're going to give you a full breakdown of what we do, how we achieve it, and how we're going to do that for you. So put APG now, and we'll be in touch with a link. I'll put it in the comments and pin it to the top as well for you. And that's it. You need to think about this as actually money does grow on trees. There's three ways that property makes money. It's the rental income, rental increases, and capital appreciation. But it's capital appreciation that makes up almost 80% of your gold producing your silver. So you need to get it right. Put APG if you want to have a chat about that further. If not, hit the subscribe, hit the like, and I'll see you in the next video.